Hello folks and welcome back to the Make IR Simple again. Today I would like to talk about another fundamental concept which we as IR students and scholars will be using throughout the whole academic work. And I would like to start with a question. What is a state? Indeed, you may say that we have a relativism, and because of that there is thousands of various concepts or various explanations for this term. However, I believe that there must be something where we can all stick together, because without having a universal common understanding of such a fundamental term, I think we will not be able to make science at all. So let's start. What is a state? Let's say if you are working in the field of international law, most probably you will say that this is a legal and political entity which has a defined territory, stable population, and which has an effective government, and also maybe as a, let's say, bonus, international recognition. But this is perspective of international law. You must say that state is the driver of the economy, the mechanism which is making money, let's say. But this will be perspective of international political economy maybe, or economics in general. But here, since we are IR students, I think it is necessary to focus on what IR thinks of it. Let's imagine this situation. We have a class, and in the class we have students and we have a teacher, right? We have a professor. If there's a discussion whether we should open the window or not, who will have the last word? Students or someone else? Of course you can say the students because they're the majority, but no, it is not like this. It doesn't work in that way. It will be the professor who will have the last word, even if the majority of the class doesn't agree with this decision. Basically, they cannot do anything about it. Because what? Because the professor has something what the students don't. And this is called authority. There is a certain hierarchical structure in the class. So when we come to the domestic field, let's say of the state, we also can observe the similar situation actually. Let's go back in history again. I really love to say this more, going back to history and recalling some cool guys, some philosophers who paved the way for us to these terms. And I think, as we always do, we must remember someone very important. This is Thomas Hobbes. What he says, he's talking about two crucial concepts. The first one is sovereignty, the second one is social contract. Let's recall this, the state of nature, right? You remember I was talking about this one in the previous video when I was talking about the anarchy in the international relations. So here again we have the state of nature, and human nature is bad, etc., etc. And all these people, they come all together and they say that instead of having these troubles among ourselves, we need to have someone who will basically resolve our problems. Yes, who will be able to enforce the decisions which will bring the conflicts to an end, let's say. And of course, in order to be able to enforce these decisions, these laws or whatever, you need to have the power. And not just any power, but you have to have a military power, military capacity. So basically this is the case here. As you all remember, the people, they are giving up on the sovereignty, on the right of deciding on the fate of the people, on the right on deciding on the use of force. They give it to the state, they bestow it to the state. And now let's say that we are having something like this. Yeah, I think you all seen this. We have a public field and we have a private field, private sector, public sector. Here's the state and here's the people. And state is able to intervene into private life when it is necessary. Yes, it regulates everything in the territory where it has a legitimate and legal status. So but still we didn't really, answer the question. What is a state? Some will say that state, it is an organism which works in totality. But of course, if you will be mentioning this concept, we will go basically to realism. And not just realism, but we are talking about the German thinkers, particularly of political geography, and even maybe we can even recall Lebensraum or something like this. And indeed, it was paving a way, it was a legitimization for the invasion of other states. And this is very easy to say, state is an organism and it needs more territory all the time, etc. But it is not. Also, we can recall the liberalism understanding of the state, which regards the state as a night watch, right? And the lesser influence it has, the lesser power it has, the more freedom the people have, the better. So, but still, we need to have something in common, something what will be universal for the whole IR. Maybe not for the whole IR, but at least for the mainstream. And what we can say for sure, it is that the state, it is a mechanism which has the monopoly on the use of force, of military force. Who says it? Weber said it, right? It is only state who is able to use the force. Others cannot do it. If others use the force, the state will punish them. The state will intervene into the situation and will punish them. So, continuing on this, what can we say? Why, by the way, in the beginning, I said that, like, if you recall the understanding of the state in terms of international law, like, let's say, determined geography, stable population, is because if you look in retrospect, for instance, in the age of empires, they didn't really have a defined geography, right? They always were expanding, they basically were sometimes losing some territories, so they didn't have any stability in terms of that. And also logically and naturally in the population as well. But still, they were the states, right? That is why one of the most important things, it is that there is the apparatus which provides the security for its people. It doesn't matter what is the population. It doesn't matter how big or small or stable, unstable geography is. It is important that there is a central apparatus which is continuously providing the security for the people. Of course, you may say that, but in the 80s there was this third debate, blah, 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 because the state also started becoming bad for the people, it started being a threat to the people, etc. But this is another case, and we are not mentioning this one right now. We will talk about it later. So, that is why another important criteria, and not just the criteria, but part of the concept of the state, is basically this. Because, especially nowadays, the concept of state is changing drastically because we have various interest groups, we have transnational organizations, international organizations, we're having NGOs, right? We're having a lot of different people, a lot of famous people as well, outspoken people who are also affecting the decision-making process. There are ministries, there are central banks, their interest groups, their different economic sectors. Yeah, in some states, some certain economic sectors, they are more influential than others. And how the state is basically continuing to be a state, because everyone has different interests. Even the president, even the executive himself or herself. So what makes state a state? What is the difference between the government and state? And the most important feature here is basically this. Poulantzas actually is talking about this. Right here, you can see this is a state, okay? And there's many different various interest groups over here, but there's one single policy which is being defined by the state. Of course, it is a topic of a discussion, of a debate on who is actually influencing the decision making and who has the last word, etc. But what is critical here, it is that the state has tangible, comprehensible, single policy in the end of the day. And this is what makes a state a state. This is enormously important, that a state, the decision-making apparatus takes into the consideration all of the factors, every single thing, and makes one single decision, takes one single decision, which is in favor of the continuation of survival of the state in question. So I hope it was quite comprehensible for you and useful as well. If you have questions on this, you may ask them in the comment section, or if you have some proposals on what topic I can make a video for you, if there is something you would like me to clarify, please don't hesitate to ask it, and I will prepare the video about the topic you inquire. So, as I said, I think it is really significant to begin with the fundamental concepts, because further I will be talking about more complex things such as globalization and nationalism. I will be touching especially upon the international security, which is the field which I know the most and which I'm mostly familiar with. For this reason, I want to explain this once first, and after that I will be going with this more complex topics indeed. So thank you very much for your time, and see you in the next video. See you, bye.